Welcome back to my channel, Therapy with Tasha. I want you to make sure you go ahead and like this video. So go ahead and put that thumbs up, subscribe, put in your notification bell so you're in the loop of when new videos come out. I've been talking about the influence of individual trauma in intimate partner relationships. You should go ahead when you're done this video and check out my short clips here on my channel, where I am highlighting some important aspects of this, right? And that's looking at how someone's own personal trauma history shows up in their romantic relationships. And today I just want to take a closer look at the ways in which this is often overlooked, misunderstood, and not fully recognized, right? So when we enter a romantic relationship, right, we enter with a lot of expectations, wants, needs. There's love, there's a lot of warm feelings, and many of the highs and lows that we will experience in partnership with someone, they can be difficult. But what happens when you or your partner's unresolved trauma enters the picture? The reality is, when it is not understood, addressed, or healed, it can wreak havoc on your relationship. And the relationship can become compromised. But what I've found in my work with couples is that when we spend quality time addressing these unresolved traumas, it actually puts the relationship back in this hopeful state. Couples begin to report reduced conflict and misunderstandings. So I want you to stay with me as we look at signs that you or your partner, or possibly both of you, are still experiencing challenge due to the wounds of your past. Right, so to start with, I want you to, let's understand what individual trauma, it can fall in a couple of categories, right? And so there's abuse, emotional, physical, sexual. There's neglect, emotionally or physical. There's growing up in a household that had substance abuse, domestic violence, incarceration. Maybe your parents were separated or divorced, or even mental illness. Was there death of a loved one, serious injury, serious illness, medical illness, a disability, being a victim of a crime, accident, homelessness? These are all the possible traumas that someone could experience in childhood that can continue to be sources of emotional, mental, or physical pain. And it will leave an individual feeling chronically unsafe, mistrustful, and anxious in their intimate partner relationships. So one of the ways that wounds of trauma can manifest with a couple is if there's constant arguing and fighting, or maybe the couple's avoiding conflict altogether. And this is because part of a trauma history, if they witnessed conflict or grew up where there was low conflict resolution, or conflict resulted in physical or emotional abuse, they may avoid conflict or be unable to manage conflict in healthy and productive ways. The second way that wounds of trauma can manifest is a couple's inability to repair or resolve fights. Right, so if you haven't learned how to manage conflict in healthy ways, you didn't see it modeled, you then go on not to be able to do the same. You or your partner may pretend it didn't happen, give one another the silent treatment, or someone will possibly go on the defense. The third way wounds of trauma can manifest is believing negative things about your partner, even when there is no evidence or reason to have this distorted view about them. And this happens because unresolved trauma, it affects the way we see the world and other people in it, and that includes your partner. Trauma can make it easy just to assume the worst about others. The fourth way wounds of trauma can manifest with a couple is reduced intimacy and/or sex. So if your partner has a low interest in sex or intimacy, they have difficulty engaging in sexual acts, or challenges with touch, this disengagement and detachment, this may actually have more to do with their unresolved past trauma than it does with you. And the last way wounds of trauma can manifest in a couple is your partner keeping secrets, withdrawing, or this need for a lot of space, a lot of me time, right? So this neglect or some of this duplicitous behavior, it could be their way to calm symptoms of anxiety, nervousness, and fear. So this happens because if you grew up in a chaotic home, your nervous system has been wired to be in a state of hypervigilance, right? And this is part of that fight, flight, or freeze response. And in this state, someone feels like they're constantly under attack. So if your partner's in fight mode, they may be more aggressive with their reactions. If they're in flight mode, they may withdraw and isolate. And if they're in freeze mode, they may actually just shut down. So I want to reiterate that I've just mentioned a few ways, right? But there are many other subtle and not so subtle ways that a partner's unresolved trauma can manifest in a relationship. And the reality is, we're not often fully aware of how the experience of our younger self is at play in our adult relationships. Understanding your partner's unresolved trauma is important for all of these reasons. Because left unaddressed, it can negatively impact the relationship. But to me, most importantly, it creates a lot of confusion and misunderstanding in the relationship. Because a couple starts to struggle with recognizing why the same issues and challenges keep reoccurring. So start by expressing some curiosity about your partner's past experiences and be open to their story of what happened to them. This could be a valuable tool for change in a lot of the relationship struggles and challenges. So go ahead, share this video, help someone else begin an important conversation. Then drop a comment, question, or thought below. And I'll see you next time for another episode of Therapy with Tasha.